And in Switzerland, near Geneva, part of France is being taken over. A substantial ring runs all the way around. And that is precisely where the powerful Hadron Collider is located. This is a sophisticated collider that actively accelerates various subatomic particles, about which we are unfortunately told very little detailed information. And so people start making things up. And it's right to make things up. If they don't tell us, then we have to say something ourselves. After all, we need to tell the world about something. People start exchanging energy with each other. But why is this necessary? Is it a portal to hell? Or what is it? Why is there a prominent statue of the Hindu deity Shiva at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research? And why do they perform some kind of mysterious rituals there? They tell us that at night, some rituals take place at CERN. Well, we don't know. We weren't there. They say there are some recordings, they show some footage, but what shouldn't we believe? Do you understand? They tell us not to believe this, not to believe that. Basically, don't believe anything at all, but what should we believe if we don't know anything at all? This collider accelerates particles that could lead us to some kind of hell, that could destroy us, destroy our world. Again, we don't know what kind of hell, where is it from, what are they summoning there? What kind of spirits are they summoning? You see, real science and the science for the average person, what they tell us about, are two completely different things. And we will never be able to compare them because they are not the same. That's something we don't know, something they don't communicate to us or explain. That's science. Yes, the collider, that's one kind of science. Let's say the tunnels in the Swiss Alps, that's science connected to the collider. But physics in school, geometry or geography, especially geography, those aren't sciences at all. You can't trust the geography in textbooks or the physics or the geometry. These are completely different things. I got top marks in geometry, I was a natural at drafting, born to be a draftsman, so let's just say that's why I was good at drawing. As for the collider and Shiva, in the courtyard, the many-armed Shiva or Shiva, no, that's a woman. It's always a woman. It's always a woman who represents the primary energy. That is, a woman is the originator of energy. If a woman's pineal gland actively works to release vital energy, she consequently produces a significant amount of energy. Whereas for a man, everything happens quite differently. A man essentially is a consumer, so he always needs a woman who, when aroused, gives him energy. It's the energy that brings a person to life, enlivens his mind, enlivens his body, and makes him want to live. It's very important what kind of woman is by your side. Why is it important? Because some truly inspiring women push you to actively create innovative ideas, profound thoughts, and meaningful work, while other women, perhaps less focused, distract you with light-hearted giggles and social get-togethers, often accompanied by a delightful bottle or a sophisticated glass of fine wine. Yes, these are different kinds of women, but here it all depends on the person. Depending on your mind, your attitude, that's what you'll choose. You're looking for someone in life, right? I'm talking to the guys right now. You're all looking for someone in life. Who are you looking for? What kind of remarkable woman are you truly looking for? Take a good long look at yourself and then honestly blame yourself. What specific level of woman do you genuinely want to have in your life? That precisely is the exact level you currently have and will continue to have with you. So you choose for yourself, right? According to your own mind, according to your own expectations from life. If your expectations are, slapdash here and there, like a chicken scratching around aimlessly, right? Well, then the woman you end up with will be just like that. When you have a strong character, then the woman you have will also be strong and resilient. Well, here, friends, you can choose for yourselves whatever you want, as much as you want. This is your life. You're ahead of the whole world. We have, together with you, the Hadron Collider, which will most likely protect the dome of Europe. Why was this collider created? And we don't know the actual size of the collider. I mean, of course, they show us diagrams of it. There is an official diagram of the collider? There is. But are we really going to believe the official diagram of the collider? How can anyone believe the official diagram of the collider? Tell me. What is this collider for? This dome is really being created over Europe, over Geneva. But the dome won't just be created over Geneva, right? It will be created over Switzerland and over those shafts or tunnels that they once showed us, remember? They showed them at that particular moment when all the esteemed members of the government, and indeed Chancellor Merkel herself was also present there, came together and collectively watched this truly apocalyptic Armageddon show. And it was quite an exceedingly unpleasant kind of spectacle to behold. There were depictions of hanged people and something else, robot people were shown. It was unpleasant, but they painted our future for us. And we are supposed to accept this future the way they present it to us. But if we are not slaves, slaves are not us, as we wrote in first grade, remember? That was nonsense, because we are slaves. And slaves are always mute. That is, mute, voiceless. Europe will be saved. That is precisely why the entire continent of Europe will now be thoroughly cleaned up, meticulously cleaned of all new arrivals, and completely cleaned of all forms of emigration. Honestly, I don't know why Europe was so actively supplied with immigrants. Moreover, real Africans were brought in from Africa with a different skin scent. This is very important because these are different people, a different type of person. And so such Africans were brought in. This was in the 80s. I was still sitting at a school desk. In the 80s, I repeat, of the last century, I was sitting at a desk with a guy from Africa. And when they seated him next to me while I was pregnant, the smell was such that I just couldn't handle it. Either I was going to throw up right then, or so I just stood up silently without asking anyone, walked across the whole classroom, past the huge table to the other end, and sat down opposite him. That is, where all the other students were sitting. But by then, there was a huge distance of tables between him and me. There was even an aisle between the tables. That's how it had to be. Of course, maybe it was inconvenient for someone. First of all, I couldn't speak French at that time and was just starting to learn it. So I couldn't explain why I was doing it. But later it became clear, and that's already a second yes scenario. And on the other hand, who's really going to shame a pregnant woman for moving to the other end of the classroom, away from the guy who was seated next to her? After all, a teacher or some staff member came and just sat him right next to me. It was just a nightmare. Friends, I was already sitting alone, and then in that aisle between me and the next person, she sat that guy there. Yes, we're all different, And the Hadron Collider and all those tunnels, the Samkota tunnel, these are all friends, just methods of demonstration and working with the population mainly. That is, on the one hand, it's not really actual politics. And on the other hand, it looked like a clown show to the whole world, so that the world would know that this, that, and the other exist. And people started gossiping about it. The same goes for the collider. We don't know how it works. They say it was shut down. But is that really so? We don't know that either. Why was it shut down? The reason?